Hello and welcome back to the Villa Filler podcast. I'm here, as always, with my good friend Dan Wiseman. Dan, we're back. Arsenal away is tomorrow. We thought we'd get a preview out for you guys. Better late than never. We had to have the band together. But mate, it's been a few days. I'm still feeling miserable. I'm still feeling deflated. That feeling hasn't gone away. It's going to stick around for a while. And I find it hard to do these previews when I'm feeling like this, mate, because there's not a lot to be optimistic about. And we kind of spoke of this game as not necessarily being a free hit, but one that we certainly didn't expect Gerrard to win. I think the most important thing coming into this game, mate, which I think, to be fair, I don't think we probably vocalised this as clearly as we perhaps could have or should have in the last podcast. The performance wasn't bad in the last game, I don't think. We dominated West Ham for large portions of that game. If we can go to the Emirates tomorrow and show that there's just something about us and show that we're ready to put up a bit of a fight and make things just that a little bit more harder for Arsenal, then I think that's all we can really ask for at the moment, right?
Yeah, 100%, mate. I don't none of us are expecting points from this game, but you make a good point, mate. The only thing we were lacking in the last game really is the ability to create chances. We held the ball well, progressed it well, but it was just in and around the final third that we really struggled to create. And I mean, West Ham aren't the best, and I suppose this game might become a bit more transitional and there might be a bit more space, and maybe on the counter-attack that lends itself to something a little bit more intuitive and less sort of I think Villa struggle to create when it has to be not pre-planned, but do you know what I mean? When you're trying to break down defences and it's work that you've done on the training ground. Whereas in counter-attacking situations, it's a bit more intuitive and it's the players working on each other's wavelength. And we've often said in recent years that Villa have worked best on the counter-attack. And so, yeah, I think maybe we can see a bit more in that game. And yeah, I think everyone's expecting to go ahead and lose this game, to be honest with you, at the Emirates. And I never like saying that. But you make a very good point, mate, in that not all hope is lost in that. You know, if we do go and lose, but we manage to put up a really good fight and show that there has been a progression. You know, last season's game at the Emirates was really depressing, wasn't it? Apart from JJ's brilliant goal at the end, which has really been lost in the realms of history, to be honest with you. Not a lot went on in that game, and that's the sort of situation we want to avoid, where we're just getting battered from pillar to post, can't get a hold in the game for 90 minutes. And so if we can show that we've got a bit, contest the midfield a little bit, get ourselves on the ball in dynamic situations and get it up for pitch from one into another as quick as we can and try and cause problems that way, then all hope is not lost. I think Fulham did a brilliant job of that, actually. And I think their sort of game plan and how they went about frustrating Arsenal for long periods of the game should be something we should really have been looking at this week.
Definitely, mate, definitely. I think when you look at, it's funny you mentioned that Ramsey goal. I've just finished watching All or Nothing, the Arsenal one. And why is it whenever that these documentaries happen, it's so depressing to watch Villa? It's the same in the Spurs one as well, when Engels let Son run through with a broken arm. There's always some really depressing moments in these quite interesting documentaries. What intrigues me about Arsenal is, I think, and I mean this in the least disrespectful way possible, because Arsenal are, of course, in conversation with being, you know, within the big six and stuff like that. But Arsenal set up how every team should set up against top teams. And they've really began to execute that game plan very well. So 4-2-3-1, it's solid defensively. It allows them to transition quickly. And they play with that sort of defensive elbow that we have kind of seen. It's kind of come in and out of fashion. Arsenal have stuck with it for the past few years. And whilst last season it was mainly Tomiyasu being that elbow, we've seen Ben White play at right fullback and be that sort of anchor for the defence to just provide that bit more stability. So as whether it's Zinchenko or Tierney, whoever bombs forward, is allowed to do so. So you can kind of approach that in one of two ways, right? You can either, I think what we've seen so far with the big teams as well, the way to get results, and we've seen it with Leeds and we've seen it with Newcastle against both City and Chelsea, you have to play high and wide. You have to absolutely, the only thing you can do, the only way you will get success against these teams is to try your goddamn hardest to be as press resistant as possible. and find the out ball over the predominantly attacking fullback. Now, luckily for Villa, it looks like Alexander Zinchenko could miss this game, and Kieran Tierney started the last game. That's a big blow for a lot of FPL people, I'm sure. I know I've subbed in Saliba for this game and taken Zinchenko out. That's my risk. But Villa absolutely have to play wide. You can't be playing this 4-2-3-1 against this system. You need pace, you need power, you need technical ability in behind. And if this is ever a game for Craig Butler to be going mental about Leon not starting, mate, it's absolutely this one, because I think the only chance Villa are going to get something from this game is by exploiting Kieran Tierney with Leon Bailey on that right-hand side.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, mate. Absolutely right. I think it lends itself to what I was saying as well with counter-attacking situations, and that we need those fast players on the pitch. If we're playing that sort of diamond formation, I just don't think it will work, to be honest with you, because I don't think there's enough legs in that front three of Watkins, Ings and Coutinho to shift that ball up quickly, take a man on, and create those situations. I think the midfield is an interesting one, and I think that sort of general formation has to change, and I think it will. I hope we play with wide men, sort of in inverted commas, wide men, for this game, as I do think that will give us the best shot at this. I think it's an important game for the fullbacks as well, because you talk about how important those wide areas will be. It wasn't Matty Cash's finest hour against West Ham. And I think he can provide some real support going down that right-hand side. Luca Dean as well, obviously, is someone that we now have that's a real asset on that left-hand side that really needs to begin to show his consistent output. But I don't think we've created the channels yet for him to get properly up and down that left side. So since arriving in January, I still don't think we've seen anywhere near his best yet. I think that's why we can feel perhaps a little bit underwhelmed as to his general output since he came in. But it's in these games where we really need to open up those pathways for the fullbacks to really bomb on. And obviously we've seen them on occasions, particularly Matty Cash, underlap rather than overlap as well. And so however we choose to roll with those fullbacks and sort of integrate them into this system, if we are to go and get anything, we have to go and be brave. And those are the key positions, I think, and where you make that decision, basically.
Yeah, I think absolutely, mate. And I think the thing is as well, when you look at White, somebody who is, I think we've seen him play at fullback at times, but he does look significantly more comfortable as a centre half. That's not to say that the position that he's played in this season, he's been poor, because he hasn't. If you take Arsenal's 3-0 win at Bournemouth, for example, mate, 95% pass accuracy, touched the ball 84 times, won 2 of his ground duels out of 4, won both of his aerial duels that he managed 1 key pass. He was getting himself involved in the attack as well. So there is that sort of flexibility with his sort of elbow position. But I do think if you look to isolate someone like Ben White, you get, I think, well, it's going to probably be Buendia that side, right? If you're going to go, or Coutinho if you're going to do 4-3-3. Somebody who's got a bit of skill about them. I don't necessarily think you need the pace to beat the man, because, it's Ben White. Of course, he's quick, but he's not rapid. I think somebody with technical ability like Phil or Emmy, and I'll let you guys just argue that one out in the comments because I'm bored of it, can get the better of Ben White in situations there if you are going to look to isolate him. What worries me, mate, though, is how dynamic their attack is, and I don't see a world where Villa keep a clean sheet here. And you look at that: Gabriel Martinelli, Martin Odegaard, Bukayo Saka, Gabriel Jesus, Emile Smith-Rowe, Fabio Vieira as well, who we've not even really seen a whole bunch of. It's frightening stuff, especially when now we're 4 games into a season and we've seen 4 different centre-half pairings as well, mate. Like, it's almost as if we don't know what to expect.
Yeah, and there's been a bit of doubt about Tyrone as well and his fitness, sort of whether he played that full training session today, which was mentioned in the injury update. Sort of they were hoping he'd be able to partake in a full session. Whether that happened or not, we don't know. So it remains to be seen who's starts. I think there is a little bit of value in Callum Chambers starting this game against his old team. But yeah, there is a lot of question marks about the team generally. But you make a very good point in terms of a clean sheet, mate. I think we can basically write that off. Gabriel Jesus is my captain in FPL this week.
So,
sorry, not sorry. And I think that tells you all you need to know.
Yeah, and it's just like, I think what worries me about this is it against the bigger teams. We can never, like, when we lose, we generally lose quite bad, right? Don't we? I feel like, like 3-1 last season. Okay, we scored, like Ramsey scored the goal, but that was, wildly unacceptable. It was a completely embarrassing display, and of course they got lucky with a few penalty decisions which were a bit questionable and things like that. But you have to create your own luck in these kind of situations, and the only thing that I can possibly think going for me, mate, and I don't have the exact statistic to hand, but I do remember reading that Steven Gerrard has the highest away win percentage of any Aston Villa manager in the Premier League era. Of course, it's a very small sample size, but that's the one thing that I'm clinging on to. I think it's proven to be very difficult to play at Villa Park, and especially with the boos, which were totally justified, and I was totally involved in on the weekend myself. Maybe, just maybe, it could do as good being away from home. I'm clutching at straws, as you guys can see.
No, I don't think you are, mate. I don't think you are. It has been, to be honest with you, under the late stages of Dean Smith as well. We found Villa Park a very difficult place to win games. So perhaps there's something bigger at play there. I'm not sure, but I think you're definitely right in that. I don't think it's necessarily bad to go away. I think there's places I'd rather like to be going away than to the Emirates, to be honest with you. But I think if we are to put ourselves in sort of any good stead for the test against Man City at Villa Park as well, because if we're going to get anything from that game, we need the fans to be on side for that one. And obviously with the other storylines that are going on in that game, I don't think we'll have a problem for atmosphere. But to make sure it's the right kind of atmosphere, I do think that positive performance this week is needed, just to show that we can go and show a little bit of fight in that Man City game, to show that we're not just going to get rolled over. I think ultimately it comes down to those sort of key positions we mentioned, mate, and whether we can stand up in those areas and try and. I think the one thing we need to avoid ultimately is an early goal, and I know that sounds like an obvious thing to say, but we can say all of this and for all of Stevie's pre-match work and everything like that, if that's all gone out the window on minute 5, then this all looks totally different, and they're facing such an uphill battle emotionally and mentally as well. I think it's just about us holding out for as long as possible, which, when I was talking about Fulham earlier on in the podcast, man, that's what I sort of mean, and how long they frustrated Arsenal for. And the longer that you do that, the longer the desperation creeps in and the more likely mistakes creep in, which is what Mitrovic obviously eventually capitalised on. We need to make sure that we don't go in there and, like Bournemouth, concede sloppy set piece or something like that really early on in the game, because it just kills everything. And then suddenly the game is completely out of reach already, and the fans are against you. And as I said, that sort of psychological toll is already so heavy. Whereas, like, if we can hold out for the first half, make that sort of doubt creep in, then I think opportunities will open up. But ultimately, we have to resolve, which Villa haven't necessarily been very good in, to make sure that we just get through the first 15, 20, 25 minutes without conceding. Because if we do, mate, I think we're in real trouble.
Yeah, that's the thing, man. As you say, like, I think what Villa really need is a solid opening sort of 20, 30 minutes, something that the players can kind of latch themselves onto, in essence, right? And go, oh, actually, because, when confidence is down, and it sounds silly, but like when confidence is down and you go a goal down, the heads drop early on, and if you can make it to 30, 45 minutes at 0-0 and, get them in the second half, and hopefully Steven Gerrard can show that he has some sort of tactical nous and is able to conjure up some sort of team talk or whatever to get them going in the second half, then it's anyone's game, really. As you say, I think the longer you can hang on, the more hope it gives. And I think that's something that we've seen more often, really, with like opposition that come, especially, again, with no disrespect intended, like sort of bottom half teams. The longer that a Palace, or the longer that a Brighton, or the longer that a Brentford are at a 0-0 at Villa Park, the more likely it feels like they're going to score, right? When you get to the sort of 80th minute. We're serial, late conceders, aren't we, at Villa Park? It's an absolute nightmare. And, again, something to take solace from. Mikel Arteta has only beaten Villa twice in his managerial career. It was only last season where he managed to actually finally get one over Villa. I think we'd gone 3, maybe 4 games with wins against him. We beat them at the Emirates. I know we beat them at Villa Park in the lockdown year as well. Beat them at Villa Park to stay up in the first part of the lockdown. Yes. So, in the first year back in the Prem. So, maybe we can take solace in that. Unfortunately, we've not got Trez at the back post for this. It's probably good to mention, mate. I don't think it's been announced yet, but it looks like Anwar's gone to PSV. I'm devastated, man. I really am.
I'm really happy. It's a great move for him.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
In that sense.
And he's going to tear it up, right? And it looks like he's going to be a Cody Gakpo replacement when he inevitably finds his way out of PSV. And I think in terms of value for money, if you're going to go for turning Gakpo for 40 million to bring in Anwar for what looks to be 4 million euros, that's unreal business, because realistically, I'm not saying that there is quite clearly levels, but I think you get a similar output from Anwar in that division. I think Gakpo will come to the Premier League and surely prove his worth. I think he is a great prospect. I think we may have done a transfer rumour on him before. I'm not too sure though, but he's an exciting player. But in terms of Anwar, I hope his career can get back on track, because I feel like he deserves it. And it was always, I think it's been his story the whole time, right? He's always been the what if boy, right? What if it worked out at Ajax? What if he was, what if he got that move to Barcelona or to other clubs that there were like genuine links for when he was only a teenager? And you can question the output in the Premier League, but this man is responsible for getting us back to where we are. So for that, I will be eternally grateful, mate.
Yeah, I'm really glad. And no offense to the boys that we have sent to Turkey, but it wasn't like that kind of move. No. Do you know what I mean? Like a sort of real out to the middle of nowhere. I was quite pleasantly surprised. I think I will say it, by a club of PSV stature coming in and taking a chance on him, because that's what it is. It's a low risk because it's such a low fee, but it's a gamble. And someone that hasn't played much football but has been so professional by the looks of it in recent weeks. I mean, there was videos of him. I can't remember who Villa were playing in pre-season, but he was with the 23s. Did you see that video of him scoring that free kick, mate?
Yeah.
I can't remember who they were playing, but it's like some deep non-league side, like almost Sunday stuff. And he was turned up there and he scored a really good free kick. And you sort of think, mate, it's fair play, because so many players, I was honestly like, including me, I'd probably throw my toys out the pram. I was like, mate, I was playing international football. Like, do you know who I am? Like, I can't be doing this. And he would have been totally justified for doing that. But to be fair to him, he got his head down. And that's, I think, good things happen to good people, and it's earned him this move. And I really hope it works out for him. I'm sure it will. It'll be a really nice move to see him go back there. And Ruud van Nistelrooy's got a really interesting project there, and they'll be in the Europa League. Obviously, they lost that Champions League playoff to Rangers, so it isn't Champions League football for Anwar. It is the Europa League. But I think that's really nice, and it's a beautiful story to see him go back there, and one that I'm sure we'll both be watching with an eager eye, mate, because he's someone that you hit the nail on your head in your tweet, mate, that history will look back on very kindly, and he's someone that will be forever ingrained in Villa folklore, someone that scored some important goals, but just some very good goals as well. So more power to you, Anwar.
Absolutely. Even Ajax were rumoured to be interested as an Anthony replacement, so that should tell you, obviously Ajax know how good he is and how good he can be. Came through the school of Ajax, but when we're talking about £100 million transfer to the Premier League, whether he's worth that or not, obviously that's up for debate. But for Anwar to be replacing him, it's nice to know that he's still held in high esteem in Holland. And it's a move that makes sense as well, because his wife was pregnant, like quite heavily pregnant. So I can imagine they'd rather, either stay at Villa and be where home has been for the past 3-4 years, or move back to their native land and build a family, because why not? I feel like that's not always, people don't always consider that, right? These guys are humans. So, as you say, mate, more power to Anwar. We love him here. Obviously, Dan Horton did the song as well, which kind of blew up. It would be great to get guys on the podcast, wouldn't it? It would be amazing. Maybe
one day.
Yeah, maybe we've got to do some LinkedIn searching, mate. Got to get out some people on there. But yeah, guys, if you enjoyed this preview, let us know by hitting a like and comment your thoughts down below. And if you haven't already, subscribe so as you never miss a video here at Heart of the Holte. We've been growing nicely at the moment, guys. It would be great if we could just keep the subs coming in. And appreciate all the love on the last podcast. Appreciate it was a difficult one to probably listen to and to stomach. And I am still feeling absolutely devastated by the result. But we go again, mate. Arsenal tomorrow night. Let's go. Up the Villa.